Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, to the channel Beautiful Bonsai. Today, I would like to share with you a quiet conversation about Bông Tan Tan Vân, the beauty of Vietnamese artistic bonsai. Number 1. The birth of the Tan Vân canopy. Vietnamese artistic bonsai. To understand Vietnamese artistic bonsai, we must first understand the origin of this concept. According to the sharing of pioneering master artisans in the bonsai community, such as Mr. Cường, the painter, the term artistic bonsai emerged approximately 30 years ago. At that time, a group of artisans in Hanoi initiated a movement to develop artistic bonsai based on traditional Vietnamese classical tree forms. In the past, Vietnamese classical trees mainly followed traditional styles such as Trực Phân Chi, Trực Liên Chi, Trực Khói Hương, Long Thăng, Long Giáng, Phượng Vũ Hóa, Lão Mai, Lão Cán, Huynh Đệ, Tam Đa, Ngũ Phúc, Quần Thụ. These trees were arranged with a disc-style canopy structure. From the main trunk, the canopy was divided into 2 pads and 1 apex, or 4 pads and 1 apex. These canopy pads were repeatedly trimmed until they became thick and dense. When a tree had been trained for several decades, these flat canopy pads often tended to rise upward, what some people call rain-catching branches. However, the weakness of the disc canopy lies in its monotony and heaviness. Although it allows quick correction and clear, orderly shaping of each pad, it lacks a sense of lightness and fails to create a feeling of freedom and poeto for the viewer. From this limitation, master artisans such as Mr. Cường began to innovate. They divided, separated, and broke apart large disc canopies into multiple smaller canopy clusters with varying heights, distances, and overlapping layers. These clusters intertwine, floating softly like drifting clouds in the sky. This approach is called Tan Vân. From that moment, the overall composition of the tree became more beautiful. The masses and forms within the artistic structure were arranged with greater harmony and fluidity. And from there, Vietnamese artistic bonsai gradually shaped its own deep aesthetic values and distinct identity. A foundation rooted in classical tree forms. Vietnamese bonsai developed from traditional craft villages such as Nam Dien, Thuận Vi, Bac Din, Trac He, Trieu Cuc, Vân Giang. These villages primarily worked with classical tree forms. There were even books that compiled hundreds of classical bonsai styles and their variations. Over a very long period of time, classical tree forms established a solid foundation for an entire aesthetic system. From that era until even today, classical trees with disc canopies have remained a standard of beauty. A beauty governed by rules, balanced proportions, flat and carefully trimmed canopies, clear layering, distinct hierarchy, and precise order and ratios. All of this expresses discipline, structure, and decorum, symbolizing family values, moral order, and the social stature of the bonsai owner. Number 3. When aesthetic perception begins to change. Perhaps in every stage of societal development, as time moves forward, the way people perceive beauty also gradually shifts. Although the disc canopy was once a standard, it began to reveal its limitations. First, the space felt enclosed. Visual depth became restricted. The tree appeared heavy, too still, too rigid. The tree was still beautiful, yet something was missing. The viewer could not reach a moment of emotional elevation. And from here, a quiet transformation began, a movement from the flat plane toward 3-dimensional space. This change did not happen suddenly, but progressed slowly, over time. At first, people only made small adjustments, making the canopy lighter, less dense, adding gentle curves to soften the overall feeling. Later, the canopy clusters were rearranged into multiple layers, front and back, high and low, near and far. All elements blended together in harmony. This became a transitional phase where traditional thinking and new artistic thinking coexisted side by side. 4. A breakthrough in development. When spatial thinking has fully matured, the Tan Vân canopy appears as an inevitable result. The canopy is no longer a flying disc, but becomes floating clouds that gently draw the eye. Each canopy cluster occupies its own position with space surrounding it and an invisible connection linking it to the others. The tree is no longer arranged in a monotonous, layered order. Instead, it is guided by a natural rhythm, through artistic mass and geometric space. The canopy clusters connect through direction, through rhythm, and through distance. If the foliage mass is form, then the empty space is breath, key. A beautiful Tanvan tree is one that allows the viewer to look through it, to feel its depth, and to sense the movement of space. The tree is no longer a solid mass, but a living entity that breathes. At this stage, massing becomes the core that keeps the tree standing. Even as Tanvan opens up space, mass remains the backbone. It exists gently, without overpowering the viewer's vision. 5. Tanvan and mass. Yin-yang relationship and the mark of time. Without mass, Tanvan becomes scattered. Without Tanvan, mass becomes heavy. A beautiful tree anchors emotion through mass and opens space through Tanvan. Just like cloud and mountain, stillness and movement, solid and void. To create a beautiful Tanvan tree, it cannot be done quickly. Branches must be old enough to hold their form. Twigs must be strong enough to nourish the canopy. And the creator must be calm enough to know how to wait. A beautiful Tanvan tree always carries within it the marks of time. At a certain stage, when the bonsai practitioner no longer sees the tree as a fixed form, that is when one begins to discover and feel its rhythm and its invisible connections. At that moment, Tanvan is no longer a technique, but becomes a language of aesthetics. 6. Conclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, from the classical disc canopy to the Tanvan cloud canopy, this is not merely a change in form. It is a journey from order to nature, from technique to emotion, and from outward appearance to inner depth. And within the spaces that are intentionally preserved, Vietnamese artistic bonsai has discovered its own distinct beauty, a beauty that is not loud, yet endures through time. At this point, I will pause so that we may reflect and share our thoughts together. If you find this meaningful, please give the channel a like and subscribe to support us. Thank you very much, and see you again.